Hello, tribers and subscribers. Welcome to the Interplanetary travel tutorial. Let's get started. Now, before we start, we'll want to go over the tools we'll need for this mission. Tool number one is the deltaV map. This map will allow you to determine how much deltaV you need to engineer into your ship in order to get from one interplanetary body to the next. The second tool is the interactive, illustrative, interplanetary guide and calculator for KSP. To use this, just two drop-down boxes in a parking orbit. When you're designing or engineering your spaceship, you need to know how much deltaV each stage has. This is not yet built into the game, but there are a lot of tools such as Void, the vessel orbital information display, that will allow you to view this while you're constructing your spaceship. Back to the first one. So let's say we're going to go to Duna. Click on Duna and you can see that you have a deltaV direct trip and a deltaV round trip. Now NASA uses a factor of safety of 1.25, and I think that's going to be fine for us too. So if we're going to Duna and we want to do a round trip, it says we'll need 14,660, and that's going to multiply that by 1.25. And so we're going to plan for a total vehicle deltaV of about 18,000. Now, if you wanted to do additional missions on Duna, like taking off and setting down and visiting a lot of other areas, you want to plan even more deltaV. Now, they've already set it up for a nice parking orbit of 100 kilometers over the surface. It's kind of standard. The reason you want to burn closer to the planet rather than farther away is because the Oberth effect. I had to look that one up. So the Oberth effect basically means that rockets perform at higher efficiencies when they're closer to a planet, or in other words, when they're moving fast. The only downside here, and the only reason that you need to worry about that, is because if it's going to be a long time for your time acceleration to get to this angle, the 44.36 with Duna, you want to do that time acceleration either on a ship that can go to full time acceleration, that's not your vessel that you're sending to Duna, or from the launch pad itself. So that's one thing you want to keep in mind. Get your phase angle right before you take off. Now, the last tool, Void, which I'll show you in game as well, is very handy. You'll want to download this or another type of tool like this in order to view your deltaV. You can see the deltaV right here is 6.83. So with 6.83 deltaV, total deltaV, they could go to Duna and the Ike. They could actually go to Ike. Wow, that's impressive. That's about all for the tools they'll need. We'll come back to this when we're planning, when we have our exact numbers. All right, so now that we've got the tools that we need to design our spacecraft. Now, as before, we need to design it with a total deltaV of 18,000, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. For this mission, we'll want to use the Mark 1 lander cannon, just because we're trying to do the absolute minimum we need to. Now, you'll see with Void, we have our heads-up display up here, total mass, and bottom stage deltaV. So the one thing about Duna that we'll need to keep in mind is that it has a very thin atmosphere. So you're going to need both deltaV and some sort of parachute system on the way down. So I just want to double check one fact, which is the amount of deltaV it takes to get to the surface of Duna. And I'm going to want to multiply that by 2 so I can get back up. And we'll also multiply by our factor of safety. So we'll need about 3,500 deltaV on our lander. Try not to use any parts too advanced, just because I want to make sure that people who are just starting out can do this as well. You need to know a little bit about your planet before you can design a mission for it. The most important thing for us to know is what its gravity is, because this will determine how much thrust we need in order to be able to land and take off on the planet. You can have as much deltaV as you want, but if you can't actually repel the force of gravity of the planet, you're going to be in a pickle. Surface gravity, so it's 0.3 Gs compared to Kerbin, so we'll need at least 0.3. We'll probably design for maybe 0.5. So right now you can see that our thrust to weight ratio, which is G, is 1.304, and we already have 2.741 kilometers a second of deltaV on this thing. So we will design to take some science to the mission. This will allow us to take some readings. Also put a temperature on here, put a seismic, and pressure. And we'll also want some sort of communication device. Now we need to think about power. So a lot of people will not have a form of nuclear power when we do this. We'll design this as a solar powered mission. Get our KSP jams going. We don't need a lot of electricity, so we're just going to use two little guys. And we'll stick to the most basic solar panels for this lander. kind of angle them so that we'll have a pretty good chance of seeing some light all the time. Now on the top of this, I think we should put a pretty sizable parachute, as well as maybe 2 parachutes on the actual lander itself, so that if things go really bad, then we'll be okay. There we go, that should be good. Not the prettiest thing in the world, but it'll get the job done. Right, so we want to keep on adding fuel to get our deltaV up and get our thrust to weight ratio down to 0.5, just because that'll be the most efficient for us. In engineering, the most effective spacecrafts are actually the ones that only just barely perform adequately. So this would be fine for getting us back. We only need about 1,500. So this could be our last stage. With that in mind, we'll actually plan for it and just say that we're going to decouple some stuff on our way down. Put some fuel lines. You want to make sure that you keep your thruster at the very bottom so that you keep on seeing this. Now we have 0.5 and 4.189. So that is actually just about perfect. So we'll want 1380 times 2, then yes, that would be optimal for getting us back from Duna. So this is all you need to take off from Duna and to get back to Kerbin, theoretically. Now I normally recommend using drogue parachutes and main parachutes, but for Duna, because the atmosphere is so weak, we're just going to use all main parachutes. The next thing we need to worry about is landing gears. Yep, we'll need some of those. One really nice trick for landing struts is to deploy them by right-clicking, clicking that, and then you can actually see what it's going to look like when you're deployed. Now, the further out you go, the more stability you have, but the less shock absorbing you have. For Duna, you're going to want something a little bit in between, a nice mix, because we'll be coming down at speed just because the atmosphere is so weak. These suckers placed on here. There we go. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now, we'll need some sort of way to get our little guy down there. Now, you can do the same trick with these, right-clicking them, extending them. One of the worst things to happen on these missions is for you to not be able to get back up to your spaceship. It's happened to me before. All right, let's see. That's pretty much good. That can be our return vessel, and it can be our touchdown vessel, which is awesome. So we'll just retract this. All right, we'll leave it. Now, time to design the most important part of any interplanetary stage, your lifting body. So to get off of Kerbin, we need 4,500, but we'll design all of it for 7,330. You want to make sure that it's stable, and later on you're going to want to make sure that it's reusable. Come on, where are you buggers? So this part isn't absolutely necessary, and if you don't have it yet, you don't need to add it. It actually just adds mass. Unless you're using an aerodynamic model in KSP, there's no real reason to use it. It is kind of helpful for making things a little more stable though. We'll just add a couple struts here. That's pretty much all we need. These are probably the best rockets in KSP right now. A little bit overpowered actually. Use some sort of way to get your body off of axis so we don't get any overheating. Sometimes it helps to actually copy these things before you do this. Let me see, add a decoupler and make sure that we line everything up so that we have a nice clean design. And we'll add a couple more fuel tanks. For this bottom stage, we need to make sure that the thrust to weight ratio is above 1, preferably about 1.2-ish. Add our struts and our fuel lines. Right, that's all you need for that. We are going to add a orbital insertion or ejection stage, since those are a little more efficient and easier to turn. That's the most important part. You don't want to spend a lot of time trying to turn around. So we're going to add one advanced SAS module, or if you can't do that, then just add some reaction wheels on the side. And we're going to use just one single tank, I think should be enough for this. Okay, so we see our bottom stage deltaV is 2.326. It needs to be 950, 110, so that'll be plenty. We even have some left over. Now we'll just add one more decoupler. I like the skinny ones personally. and some more struts. Just a lot of space tape. I normally find that more stability, generally better, and the weight of these things is not significant, so it definitely helps. Now, with a center stage as long as this, sometimes you need to have a little bit of reinforcement so that you don't get wobble. The way that I do this is I take a couple of these guys right here, and I just make kind of a support structure for them. Just tie everything together, space tape, and we're just about ready to take off. There we go. I'm satisfied. That should be really stable. So here we go. Our total design. Let's just get our staging right. So we want to take off with all three on the bottom stage. Wow, it gives us some massive thrust to weight ratio. We'll want to make sure that we throttle down here so that we don't go over terminal velocity, because that's just wasting fuel. Fire all three. These will burn out. We stage separate right here. You'll see that they'll light up when I hover over it. Then we want to decouple this. We want to decouple our heavy lifter stage. And we'll go on to firing our injection burn thruster. Then when that's spent, we will decouple it here. We will fire our landing thruster, at which point we will want to deploy all of our parachutes together. And then at some point we'll be decoupling these two. And that's pretty much it. So we're just going to want to go over a checklist real quick, make sure that we have everything that we need. Now I do notice that our total deltaV is not 18,000. Oh, these are not right. Oh, that's all right. Well, that's kind of sloppy, but this is KSP. Don't worry about it. Now let's check our map again. Okay, we'll want 4,500 to take off from Kerbin, and then 900 to get into a solar orbit. I think we're good. I think we'll just try this. Let's just go for it. Now, next thing on our checklist is power. Do we have solar panels? Yes, we have solar panels. Do we have backward and forward facing solar panels? No, we don't. So we're going to just add a couple photovoltaic packs. It'll give us plenty of power throughout our flight. Do we have landing gear? Check. Are the landing gear long enough? Check. Do we have a ladder? Yep. Is it long enough? Probably. Do we have all of our science we want? Yep. Do we got a Kerbin? I've done this before. Yeah, we got our Kerbins. Electricity? Yep. And I think we're good. On to the next phase. All right, here we are. Beautiful flag, all sorts of rubble, random creations lying around. Let's get started. We want to make sure that we know where we are in the big scheme of things. Two things we want to pay attention to here is where Duna is and where we are. Now, if we remember from before, we want an angle of about 44, so it's something like this. It doesn't need to be perfect. So we're going to time accelerate on the pad until we get that. Let's keep on moving around your cursor so that you stay in line with the sun. And eventually Duna... Oh, no, this one's going to be a long time because we're actually going to overtake Duna. So, the rest of you guys, just maybe get some tea, some crackers, take a break, and I'll fast forward through this. Alright, so we just passed our 90-degree mark, and we'll want to pay close attention from here to get our 44.3. I think we're about 50. Getting there, getting there, getting there. Alright, I'm going to stop it. I think that's about right. So, next thing we want to pay attention to is getting up to our 100-kilometer mark. Alright, here we go. We are ready to take off. We don't have any RCS on this vehicle, which is fine since we're not going to do any docking. But we do want to make sure that our SAS is on and that we stay below. You don't want to go above this green mark here because that's about terminal velocity. So it's going to take off, and this is a totally acceptable acceleration speed. We can actually check how many G's we're pulling on our meter here. 1.3, that's good. We'll want to actually keep it down to 1.2. That'll be great. We'll just keep it around here the entire flight until we do our gravity turn. Then we'll really turn up the heat. So it's important to notice that you're not experiencing any heating during this. So you want to make sure that your thrusters aren't overheating. If so, you need to put a little more space between them. So we're getting ready to detach our first stage, which is good. That normally happens right about at the point of gravity turn. I think we'll probably initiate our gravity turn at about 15 or 16,000 meters. We're burning well below half thrust and accelerating quite quickly. So we just reached our mark. I'm going to start a gravity turn. Turn my SAS off for just a little bit. let gravity do the work for me. And detach my thrusters, turn SCIS back on till they're clear. And we're going to turn to 45 degrees slowly and increase our thrust. We'll see that we really don't have any wobble, even though we are kind of just this huge shaft of a vessel right now. And that's mainly because of these support structures. So as we break through the medium thickness part of the atmosphere, we can thrust up even more and hold our position. You want about 30 seconds, T-minus 30 seconds constant until you get to 100, at which point you'll just cut your thrust. So we're doing great. Very efficient burn right now. So orbits are generated not by going up, but by going sidelong, so that you're always missing the orbital bodies. So while we're not increasing our apoapsis that much right now, we really are extending our orbit out and increasing our speed. Here we go. We're really starting to see some movements right now. We want to make sure that we stop this around 100, around 85. I'm going to slow it. Push this to 100 as best we can. We're going to want to set up a node. So we'll click on the apoapsis point, add maneuver, and click on the green one without an accident and drag it in its direction. And you'll see that your apoapsis is poking up. When I increase that slowly until you start seeing it move like that, and click here and drag this apoapsis back to your current apoapsis. Check your apoapsis again and repeat the process. Very slowly now. All right, we're just about there. All right, perfect. So you want to preemptively move to your maneuver node, which is this blue point. Okay, Midland Kerbin expressing awe at the universe, truly appreciating the smallness and greatness of himself all at once. It is beautiful. Apparently the lakes of Kerbin are having a rave right now. Alright, so the next thing you need to know about maneuver nodes is that you want to burn, so our burn is only 2 seconds, which kind of makes this comically difficult. We'll want to start our burn 1 second before, and we'll want to end it 1 second after our node. So right now we have 4 minutes until, so we're going to time accelerate a little bit. The reason you do that is so you have an even burn. We'll use that method on all maneuver nodes except for maneuver nodes where you're trying to dock with something in orbit. Alright, so we're coming up to our node and we're going to slow down. Oh, we passed a little bit. No worries. Just burn, 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 and that's probably good enough. What are we at? 104 and 99. That's fine for me. That averages out. So we want to make sure that our solar panels are extended. Want to line up with the sun here, and we'll zoom in. Make this as vertical as possible. Our solar line. There we go. That's probably great. We're going to move on to the interactive illustrator, Interplanetary guide and calculator for KSP. And we'll go into Duna at 100, do the maths, or I already did the maths. We need to burn at 150 from prograde. About here. Add a maneuver. And we're going to just pull this out till we line up with Duna. Now we'll set it as our target. Hopefully we'll start getting some good information that we did this right. It's never perfect. If you get it perfect, that's awesome. But very rarely. Oh, look, here we are. It's pretty good. Pretty good one. So we'll just play with this. A good method from this is just to pull one until you see that your approach has stopped narrowing as it's starting to grow, and then move to another one. Kind of working all 3 axes. So we're still getting some positive response from doing this. And then it just disappeared. All right, so move on to this one. See what we get. It's not good. And oh, that's great. Our ascending node is only 0.1%. If you see that this number here on your ascending node is very large, then you may have to just get this as close as you can and then go out to the ascending node to correct it before moving on to the next part. You can play with the ascending node just a little bit, see if that helps us. Not really seeing much response. You got to make sure that you're not hitting the moon on your way out. That's happened to me before. And I've just time accelerated straight into it. Alright, so not the most efficient orbit, but it's pretty much a Hohmann transfer. Now we're going to see if we can drop this down anymore by playing with our nodes. $16,000, that's pretty good. I bet we can do a little better. You can see it is very sensitive. But not very sensitive to our inclination. Alright, 16 or 15, that's pretty good. Can't make it a little bit better. No. No. Alright, that's probably good. We'll just have to be happy with that. Okay, so we're gonna want to align for our burn. Now, we are going to, you can see that we do have some fuel left over in our circularization stage. That's just because we designed a factor of safety. Now you could eject that if you are really impatient and you want to turn faster, but we'll keep it just to use that fuel so that we have it for later, basically, in case we mess up later. Once you get close to a node, you can time accelerate just to stop all movement of your ship. It's a great little Kerbal Space Program hack that you can use. Not really abusing the game mechanics, but just using it to your advantage, I guess. And we'll just go around until we see T minus probably about 2 minutes, and we'll slow down and try something else. Don't want to go past your node here. This is one time that you just don't want to do that. Give you a bit headache. Swinging by the moon here. It's looking quite beautiful. Looks like we're gonna do a dark side burn. So we get our 2 minutes, which is fine. Just want to be careful of our electricity. So we are doing a dark side burn, and we are a solar powered device. That's another reason that you want to do your alignment to your maneuver node before you burn, just because if you run out of power, then at least you can throttle. So you see we're already kind of dropping our power a little bit, but coming up on a burn very soon, so it shouldn't be an issue. We'll just keep an eye on it. All right, so slow down and start our burn. Keeping on the node, being mindful that we are going to need to separate our stages soon. Here we go. Move on to our actual insertion stage. Kind of nice silhouette there, actually, isn't it? Very 50s-esque sci-fi. See some debris off there. That might be another craft. Keep on our node here, and we'll slow down. See what we got. Just gonna close this off entirely. So it looks like we actually don't have insertion right now, but that's fine. You can see that our approach is very good. I'm actually going to go up to the sending node and do the rest of my maneuvers there. So we're just going to time warp until we get there. Goodbye, wave goodbye to Kerbin, Midland. You see it out the window? No. There goes our home. We'll see you again if all goes well. Hopefully it doesn't get hit by one of these asteroids that I haven't been keeping track of. Alright, so here we are in interstellar space. You can take some readings at this point if you'd like to. I will show you a quick trick here. If you do collect experiments in these pods, you can actually extract them and bring them back to your spaceship, which is sweet. So you could eject those later. Well, we didn't incorporate that just because this is a minimalist mission, but if you're trying to collect a lot of science, it's a great way to reduce mass. All right, a little bit more time excel. And there we are. Play around with this a little bit. Try to get our intercept again. We're actually going to try to do sub 10 million kilometers here. Because I think we can. We might even be able to hit it from this point. Oh, we did. All right. Got something. Oh, look at that. 500,000, perfect. Let's go for that. Let's try that. There's a 1 second burn again. So you could do half throttle and make it 2 seconds if you want, but we'll just go for it. There we go. Me passing my burns again. All right, we just want to keep an eye on it then until we get what we want. Oh, even better. Nice. Okay, cool. So that's one trick you can do is you just burn slow and press X when you're ready to accept what you have. So we actually got a better insertion than before. This is great. All right, so let's just time excel till we get to Duna, which will be a 205-day trip for Midland. That's okay. He brought some Cheetos. He has a big pack of magic cards to sift through and try to figure out the best way to win against whoever he finds at Duna, the nerd he is. Now, I haven't used quick saves at all, but if this is your first interplanetary trip, I recommend that you use quick saves, which would be F5, and you can load them. You can load your last save point by F9. I normally don't use quick saves at all. Unless I'm very uncertain. Slow down. So sometimes you can actually set it up so that you have an intercept with the moon, which can give you some nice science points if that's what you're going for. We'll just see if we can do that. I'm not going to try to change anything too much, but sometimes you just get lucky. Never know. There we go. Look, we got an intercept. And all you need is a fraction of a second of intercept, really, to collect your science. So let's see how much fuel that would take. 49. I think that's worth it. So we'll go ahead and do it. This isn't a science mission, just because this isn't a career path, but I want to do it just to show you guys that, you know, you can do these last minute adjustments safely, and it's totally okay. And you can reap some really good rewards for it. Now, we're not going to land on Ike, but I just want to show you that possible because we have so much fuel left over in this stage. We could even try to land with this vessel and just, you know, discard it in the last 100 meters. Might do that. Look at Midland. He is having an awesome time. Approaching our burn. Oh, there it is. In the distance. Do we have a view? Not quite. We can get, oh, there it is. Ahoy! Ahoy, ye red planet and pale moon. Let us explore you. Here we go. Closing in on our burn point. A little more time excel. And burn. Cool. Let's see if we got it. Yeah, we did. Sweet. So we'll have about 12 minutes in its sphere of influence, but we won't actually use all of that. We'll just use 6, and then at the middle of it, we're gonna use a little burn. I do actually want to see something. Thinking about using the moon to slow us down if possible. Just see what the delta V is. So 1,517 to get 30,000. Looks like that's all we're gonna get. I know this moon has a very weak gravity, so it's probably not going to be worthwhile. Yeah, I don't think it will be. So we'll just set up our node here. What's going on? It's a bit more sensitive than I thought it would be. Oh, it's actually very efficient. We'll go with this. It is nice that we kept this last stage because it's this SAS unit is really helping get around without any RCS. Let's accelerate. I like the space whales and the music. Reminds me of that one Star Trek movie and the original ones. Oh, here we are. We are in the sphere of influence of Ike. Very interesting. It almost looks as if we are approaching a Lagrange point between the two planets. I'm wondering if that's not the case. It would be very cool. A Lagrange point is where the gravity of two orbital bodies is at a equal as each other, so that you don't get pulled to either point. And so any change in your velocity would have a great change on which body you're going to switch to. I feel like that's where we are. So in the other case, if this was a science mission, we could collect some readings from Midland, some temperature readings, get a lot of science just from this 70 delta V change we did by attempting to get an intercept with the moon, sorry. Here we go, up on our burn. Looks like we'll actually just have enough fuel. Great. There we go. Very beautiful orbit. This is good because we're actually going to be able to land on the light side of Duna because of this little maneuver. Oh, how cool is that? We could actually get a free leave. That is a beautiful orbit. Look at that. But alas. Whoa. Okay. Okay. That's actually not possible. Okay, good. That scared me. So if we don't actually get insertion here, we will get a near miss with Ike and then be flung out into the universe. We'll take our chances though. 47.3 meters per second. There's probably like 0.1 meters per second in there. That is if we make it or not. So this one is actually quite delicate. This burn is quite delicate. So we're gonna use a quick save here. Here we are approaching our burn, our very, very delicate burn. Never seen anything like this before, by the way. This is quite special. If I had a probe with me on this ship, I would definitely use it to see what would happen. So let's get ready for our burn. Oh, and there we go. Hello. All right, so we're actually set to impact the planet. I don't want that, so I'm going to attempt to, what were we on, the 270? Yeah, so I'm gonna burn at the 90 for just a few moments. Try to get this up a little bit. There we go. Happy with that. Let's quick save again and move in. So for planets like Duna or Mars, one of the biggest problems with landing on them is their thin atmospheres. And the guys over at Squad do a really good job of recreating the issue of thin atmospheres in Kerbal Space Program. And essentially the problem with them is that they just are so thin that it's hard to stop. It's hard to stop them from going from orbital speeds. And the way NASA recently has tried to do this is that they basically came out with a giant inflatable frisbee. When I say giant, I mean like more than 5 or 10 meters. And they're going to use it as like a giant saucer brake. And I think they actually had a successful test of it deploying and slowing a spacecraft down at supersonic speeds on Earth just this last week. So that's really exciting. That'll allow a lot more affordable missions to land on Duna. Or to land on Duna. Mars has been renamed Duna. To land on Mars, which is awesome news. I think they're going to try to use it with Orion spacecraft that they're developing. I'm not sure what SpaceX has in mind for their lander vehicle, but probably something similar. Parachutes just aren't cutting it anymore. You need something a little bit more with a little more oomph. Because remember, even with the Curiosity rover, they had to use the whole sky crane issue, so they had to have a thruster. The problem with that is that if you have a thruster on a real planet where you have to worry about what it's made out of, you know, you get dust everywhere, like it's in your components, just makes a real mess. It might get on the solar panels so that when you're actually on the planet, you aren't able to get power. So they had to do this like whole sky crane mechanism. It's a real mess. So it's something like the inflatable saucers could be a really big help. So I'm just lowering my perhaps just a little bit more. I want to get it to about 4,000 or so. I'd feel comfortable with that. I'm actually going to make these deploy at a much higher altitude. Go ahead and deploy those now. We're gonna do another quick save here because there is the option that at this point I could just do a complete deltaV land with a powered landing. I'm gonna restage a little bit just for safety so that if things start going wrong, then I can react quick enough. So we're approaching a point of no return, the point where if I was to start burning upward, I would not be able to escape the atmosphere. So the reason that real spacecrafts can't do this is because, or do what I'm about to do, is because your engine would heat up so much that it would just melt. So this kind of powered landing isn't really possible. You have to use like a heat shield. And then when you get to subsonic speeds, you can initiate your thruster system. All right, so here we go. We are now officially about to land. I'm gonna start thrusting. Slow this thing down a little bit and probably expend enough fuel that I can decouple this large mass. There we go. All right, so we're going to decouple that, and it's important that we have our chutes over here, and that doesn't have chutes, so that will fly away quick before us, so we don't have to worry about hitting it when we slow down. All right, so this should be a very successful slow landing. A bit rocky or a bit mountainous down here, a little bit hilly, but we didn't land in the big mountain regions. But remember, the mission is not nearly over yet. We still need to get back to Kerbin, which is no easy task. Now, there's always a chance if you don't have enough deltaV that you can try using one of the moons to gain some deltaV to have a gravity assist, but it's better not to rely on that system. We'll do a quick save here and try time accelerating. And we are going down pretty slowly, but I wouldn't want to land even at 16 meters per second. All right, so I can start seeing my shadow, and if I go inside, I can actually use the altimeter, radar altitude. This thing is very useful. A lot of people land just by using this. So I land from the cockpit, and I'll do the same actually. So once this gets to like 200-ish, I'm gonna want to slow down significantly. I don't want to actually ever have my vertical speed go above 0 though, because my parachutes will cut out, so that's not good. We're sitting at about 10 meters per second right now. Apply a little bit of thrust. Here we go. Oh God. Oh God. No. No. All right, this might be recoverable. It might not be, but we're gonna try. I gotta revert. All right, successful landing. Deploy this panel, a little extra juice in our system. Go out and repack our parachutes in case we need to do an emergency takeoff or something. He's so happy. No time, we gotta go. There's a sandstorm coming. Quick, quick, to the ship. Take your science readings. Head out. Observe the goo. Don't forget to close your photovoltaics before you take off. It'd be very bad. Right before the next storm comes, so good to take off now. We'll be burning towards the 90. And hopefully we are... Yeah, we're burning at about a half G, which is exactly what we wanted. Aw, Midland's sad to go. Once we get through the second layer of clouds, that's normally a sign that it's time to turn. For those who don't have this enhancement pack, it's about at 8,000, 9,000 meters. Gravity burn. So you just want to check that you're using fuel from the right tanks, and we are currently. Should have plenty of fuel to return to Kerbin. And we will try to use a gravity assist on our way. The glory of space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the United States Kerbal mission to Duna. It's official. Cool little ship. This is a neat design. Very compact, like it. Reminds me of the profile of the ships in Elite Dangerous, actually. Kind of this very simple shape. See if we can't get a little bit of an assist. I'd say that's definitely a little bit of an assist. That's a hell of an assist. Let's do it. Oh, crap. Hello there. Sorry for the jump. Had a little technical difficulties. All I want to say is just remember to slow down from time accel when you're approaching a planet. It's a good tip. Alright, so next step is to time accelerate to the point where we can return to Kerbin. Let's see. So... we can't time accelerate all the way, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to our flag that we just set down during our mission, and I will time accelerate from there because I can time accelerate to the fullest ability. Now this is a nice trick to use if you're ever in this situation. So here we go, full time accel. Now we're going to need to wait until Kerbin overtakes us to about 45 degrees again. And you know, while this is all fine and dandy for us to do in Kerbal Space Program, this is a big issue in Mars missions because you can either leave Mars right away or you have to wait a year or two before you can receive another launch window. And this is one of the reasons why going to Mars and having an extended man duration stay on it is such a big engineering problem. We're just going to time accelerate to where we need to be, so sit back and relax. Slow down and set up our new node. Space shuttle, spaceship, Sasa, and want to set our target to Kerbin, then switch to our intercept. We are 380 kilometers, which means we want to burn a Duna retrograde at 112, 75. So we are a little bit more than we would like to be. That should be fine. We'll just compensate. Find out where our solar line is. Here we go. Line that up vertically. Burn retrograde. Ah, that's perfect. That's right about our apoapsis. That's plenty good. All right, 1 hour till burn. All right, ready to separate our stage and continue our burn. Perfect. We'll just fall back to Kerbin. So in most cases, you'd want to try to use the moon to slow you down if you could. In this case, we're just going to go for a very high velocity entrance. Since we do have so much spare fuel, I'm not going to worry about it. And we're kind of off inclination for what you'd want to be. We set our to anything below 40 will be great for your Parapsis target. Out of electricity. Uh-oh. Can I extend? All right, great, great. Yeah, so that's definitely why you want these photovoltaic panels and not just the ones that you put on the top of your spacecraft, because you never know when you're going to run into a situation like that and you just get unlucky. Beautiful pale blue dot in the void of black. Returning home, Midland fondly remembers ice cream that is not dehydrated and the salty lakes of Kerbin shores and his favorite pair of flip-flops with the pink cats on them that he likes to look at and sometimes pets when no one looks. Yes, Kerbin, home of many comforts among other things. I'm just going to remove this node now And I'm gonna set this down to about 30,000 would be great. Perhaps the 30,000 will put us in the thick atmosphere, but give our spaceship enough time to slow down before entering atmosphere so that we don't have any issues. So I'm only going to use this this top parachute right now just because Kerbin does have a thicker atmosphere. I don't want to have too much of a parachute jerk when we come down. So just a reminder, you want to come into Kerbin slowly, don't time accelerate full. Just be a little patient, because if you accelerate too much, the game will glitch and you'll just pass right through Kerbin, which may have happened in the previous attempt of this tutorial. So yeah, let's keep that in mind. As we come in closer, I'll retract our solar panels. Just gonna do a quick save here. You can see those aurora effects around the South Pole. It's from the visual enhancement mod. So the techniques learned in this tutorial can be applied to any interplanetary mission. Some planets, such as Eve, might have a thicker atmosphere and you need to sufficiently plan for that or over-engineer. It's important to remember that if you leave Kerbins out in the environment, they'll still be there, so you can always plan a rescue mission if things don't go quite as well. Learn from your mistakes and don't be afraid to push your comfort zone a little bit. Try something you haven't done. Maybe there's a planet or a series of missions that you haven't done yet. Go ahead and try them. Just use the same tools you used for this mission and apply them to everything else. And if you have any questions whatsoever or any requests for future videos, please post them in the comment section below and I will read over them as I always do. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and hope you subscribe if you want to support the channel, and give me your feedback. But this is Swiss Milk signing off. Just gonna let you guys enjoy the re-entry effects and cruise on down to land.